Couch podcast with your host, me, Stephanie Carnegie, founder of Totality of a Woman. Thank you guys for continuing to join us, continuing to support me and support the Totality Tribe and our movement each and every Thursday by joining me on the couch at 8 p.m. We started this journey in the midst of a pandemic, and you guys have been amazing in supporting us, and we are going to soon be transitioning to the platforms that we originally had plans to record on, and I hope you guys continue to follow us on that journey, because soon we're hoping to have our guest in person on the couch with me. But until then, thank you for continuing to be dedicated to what a seat on the couch, mental health and wellness is all about, and supporting that each and every week. Again, we have just entered the month of July, and it is Minority Mental Health Awareness Month. Now, with the tribe, every day of the year, every day of the week, of the month, we are focusing on mental health, mental illness, and ending the stigma and bringing more awareness into communities of color. But again, July is also a month that acknowledges and honors the month to focus on the mental wellness of communities of color. And so I'm not someone who always likes to jump into statistics and numbers, although they do serve a purpose and they are important, but for the purpose of letting you understand why, I would love to invite you to take this opportunity to use this month. Again, mental health awareness in our communities needs to be something that is consistent and regular and a norm, but utilize this month to have the conversations in your home, with your spouse, with your significant other, especially with your children. Have the conversations on mental wellness, the importance of that. Have conversations about how your children are doing, how you guys are doing as a unit and as a family. There's been a lot going on. A lot of unprecedented things have happened in the past few months, a lot of changes. So use this opportunity to shift gears a little bit and shift the dynamics of the conversations that you guys are having. And if you need some statistics as to why this is so important, then here we go. 1 in 5 youth and teens experience a mental illness. 1 in 5 people, adults, experience mental illness in their lifetime. Suicide is currently the second leading cause of death for adolescents aged 10 to 18 years old. Age 5 through 12 remains a crisis age in the Black community as it relates to youth suicide. Since 2018, the crisis has been coined a national crisis that is becoming a public health crisis that needs to be addressed. Signs and symptoms of depression and anxiety can manifest and show up in our children as early as 5 years old. And trauma that we experience through adverse childhood experiences, if not dealt with, can carry on and have long-lasting negative effects mentally and over your complete physical health and well-being all the way into adulthood. So that is why it's necessary to take the opportunity to educate yourselves, gain knowledge, ask for support if you need, but please stop the stigma and start having those necessary conversations in your home. And you can take the opportunity to do that this month, again, as we honor July being Minority Mental Health Awareness Month. With that being said, I am extremely excited to have this special guest join me on the couch. This powerful sister, Shawanna Vaughn, who I was introduced to a few months ago through a mutual friend of ours, Terrence Coffey. He introduced us, and immediately we connected in regards to the work that we're both doing in the space of mental health, and particularly for communities of color. Shawanna is going to join me on the couch today for the topic of post-traumatic prison disorder. Shawanna W76337. And I'm sure you guys are wondering exactly what that is, and I can't wait to have her on the couch so we can explain to you and see the powerful work that Shawanna is doing for our communities. Shawanna Vaughn was born April 15th, 1978 on the plantation of Corona Institution for Women in Corona, California. Born to a mother who was shackled to a hospital bed, Shawanna's trauma began upon the exit of her mother's womb. She would also go on to serve years in prison as a teenager. Now turning her trauma and her pain into purpose, Shawanna Vaughn is the founder of Silent Cry Inc., and she has also created the post-traumatic prison disorder Shawanna W76337, which is an act to amend the correction law concerning mental health services for individuals with post-traumatic stress disorder to address the mental health of individuals that are incarcerated in New York State and around the country. I am so excited and honored to have Shawanna join us on the couch for this episode of A Seat on the Couch. Hello, Shawanna. Oh, how are you?
I am blessed to be here with you.
Let me start by saying I am so thankful. I am so honored. Number one, I'm so thankful to Terrence, like I said in my intro, and we still owe him dinner as
Yes,
things are slowly opening back up for the way that he did something so powerful just in bringing us two together. And I'm not even sure that he knew what he was doing when he brought us together. So we owe him dinner. Um, but but
absolutely.
Shawanna, because I want to be able to get right in and get right um, in depth with you. So I started off by letting everybody know that July is Minority Mental Health Awareness Month, right? And so I wanted to be able to open up this month and get right into a conversation about what's going on to bring about change and in a major way, because a lot of people, all the unrest that's happening with everything going on right now, right, people are constantly talking about what can they do, what can be done next, how they can support something that's going to really impact and bring about change. And there's a lot of, I see a lot of stuff on social media too, where they're saying, you know, your timeline is getting back to normal, and if you're not posting enough and all this stuff. And before we even get into the conversation, it's on my heart to let people know that your work doesn't always have to be displayed for people to see. Everybody has a place and a space and what's going on right now. There's so many different things that need to be done. Even from just shifting, like I said earlier, the conversations and the dynamics that you're having in your households. That's a part of doing the work. Starting to heal as an individual and as a family and as a community. That's a part of doing the work, because there's so many things. Educating, what we're doing here just on this platform on Thursdays by sharing knowledge and information, that's a part of doing the work. So I don't want people to get caught up on, if they're not posting everything on social media, or if every second they're not posting something about exactly that what's happening, doesn't mean that there's not a place for you to do the work. Right, so
Absolutely.
I wanted to start there, because when we talk about doing the work, my goodness, you have decided to do the work on some next level impacting and change, because you understand, though, the root and how deep it is and how necessary it is for us here to push and go there, because we have to for change.
Absolutely.
So if it's okay with you, I want you to share some of your story, which leads to why you even decided to turn your trauma and your pain, like I said, into your purpose, to even have a bill created, the post-traumatic prison disorder bill. This black woman who said, I'm going to do this. And I started off mentioning that your entry and introduction and welcome into this world was being born by a mother who was incarcerated herself.
Absolutely.
I'll kind of
Absolutely.
take over your story.
So good evening, everybody. Thank you, Stephanie. You are amazing. You are phenomenal. and you are the work. And so, sharing space with a wonderful sister is always amazing.
Thank you.
But my story begins in Corona State Prison for Women in 1978 to a mother who was born. I was born to a mother shackled and chained in a prison. I was vendored to the foster care system and rendered back to the prison. And nobody wants to talk about our generational traumas in our Black communities. First, we got to start there
Absolutely.
because we have generational trauma. We have people who have been to prison for 10 generations to where it's expected, it's not out of the norm. We throw barbecues when we come home from prison and we don't acknowledge graduation. Tests get sharp before we ever make it to a diploma or a prom. Our community is in trouble.
Absolutely.
And I'm very clear, born to a mother incarcerated, that exiting a womb out of trauma is damaging.
Absolutely.
And we don't know the effects of that. Everybody thinks that I should be okay. Well, my mother was addicted to drugs, and I came out addicted to a drug on a plantation in a mother under duress.
How
That
could they
cannot
think
be
you would be
well.
okay? How could anyone
That
think
can't
that
be
you would
well. That is unrest. I was born in trauma, and I lived in unrest because nobody ever thinks to get a child healing. Because when you go from one punitive system to another system, back into a system never thinks to heal because it's about profit over people.
Absolutely.
And why would you heal a little broken Black girl who came out of the womb of a mother born in prison?
Right. They don't even want to do that.
You already counted me
Out.
out. You already counted me in the next prison that you would build in the next decade. I was already in your number count.
Right.
The prisons from the education, the pipeline for prison. I was already in your number count. You knew by the time I got to kindergarten where I came from, so you already had a prison plan for me anyway.
Oh my goodness! If you don't talk about it, the school
You had
system that has,
predestined a location for me in spite of.
right, right.
So I didn't stand a chance when I exited my mother's womb. That's what you thought. And so when we know that these are the odds that we're up against, some people would say prison was my curse, but prison was my blessing. I had to go to prison so I could start to heal. And I say that not because prison was a good place. It left me traumatized more than I went.
When you came, and I hear that often when people
Yes,
come out that say that it left them more traumatized.
it
When
left me more traumatized.
right.
I'm going to tell you, on that journey, I met a lady on the other side of that wall, and her name was Bernice Cubie. And when I got on the other side of that wall and she called me by my name,
Tell them how old you were, because I remember this story. How old?
I was 17.
Okay.
And she called me Shawanna Vaughn, and I said, hmm? And I was like, I don't know you. And she said, but I know you. She said, I was your mother's best friend and I named you. And I knew that if you were your mother's daughter, you would come to see me.
Wow. Wow.
Does anybody understand the significance of what she told me?
That blew
If
me
I
away.
was my mother's daughter,
Then you would
that
do that.
she would see me in my lifetime.
And you never saw this lady before in your life. And when you told me that story, that gave me chills because,
Yes.
again, it goes back to the mindset automatically, because that's where your mother was born, then automatically it's like it's predestined that this is where you're supposed to be.
This is where I'm supposed to be. And so realizing that because I did not know or have a relationship with my mother, this lady took the time to introduce me to, I met my mother through her. By the time I got to prison, this lady was doing a life sentence. And she coached me and she said, you can't be bitter for people that have a disease because black people don't get treatment, we get prison. There is no treatment for black mothers. There's no Betty Ford for black mothers. There's just prison. She said, people who are ill can't get well here. They just get sick.
Woo!
Girl.
Sicker. They
Sicker.
cannot get well here. They just get
No,
sicker.
no. And so I began to understand on my journey through every day with this woman that my mother's issues were not hers to bear. It was a community that failed. It was a government that failed. It was a justice system that failed. Everybody failed. And then I began to not hate because then I learned to empathize because I was looking at a woman that I began to care about like I would care about a mother. And I said, but I love her. So how can I love her, which only the introduction to my mother is, and hate my mother? And I said, you know, we talk about little girls with daddy issues, but we don't ever talk about little girls with mommy issues.
It's not.
We don't talk
Not
about the
talked.
trauma
I wish my
of
sister
the no
Giovanna
mama.
was on. I wish my sister Giovanna was on here because she started a movement because of the damage of the relationship, and she openly talks about that, like with her mother. And you're right, they do talk about the daddy issues, but they don't talk a lot about. And there are so many women who have. And I say this a lot, and it sounds redundant, but I say it because I hope that every time I say it, it resonates to somebody. And I think I've said it to you before when I said there's so many grown women walking around with traumatized little girls inside of them waiting to be set free. And what carries this generational trauma and on and on that you talked about is because that traumatized child in that adult body is taking care of and raising another child. So a traumatized child raising a child is trauma and more trauma.
Absolutely.
And more trauma.
And you know what? We can't create healing through sickness.
No.
And so we put band-aids on bullet wounds. And we never clean the wound to get to the root of the problem. And so for me, I got home and I realized that I was still messed up. I realized that I got to prison and learned words that I didn't know. I had a man every day wake me up over a microphone and use the word cunt. And I didn't know what a cunt was.
I'm sorry. I know you're not talking about a prison guard or someone working in the...
Yes, I am. I am talking about a prison guard who used the word cunt.
Oh, that's how you were awakened in the morning. That was your name.
4:30 a.m. on a microphone, on a PA system. And I said, what is this word? And I looked the word up. And I was mortified because you can't, nobody can be this word. And I asked my roommates and they said, just leave them because these people come here broken too. That's why they work here.
That's why, okay, exactly, and that's why they get those type of jobs. So all of that they were not able to release from whoever hurt them, whoever abused them, whoever neglected them, they're able to take that out.
They took
and I'm the same thing about the police officers too.
Absolutely.
They get those type of jobs so that they can do.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
It's so funny when I read the deck and the information and the year that you were born was 1978, and then I read and I saw that 1 in 7 African American children were born to mothers who were incarcerated in 1978.
Yes.
Now in present day, that number and that gap has closed. It's now 1 in 4. So 1 in 4 black children are born to mothers incarcerated, and 1 out of 3 black boys and men will go to prison and jail in their lifetime.
Absolutely. This is why I am calling for healing, like you say, Stephanie, in its totality.
And it's mind, body, and spirit, the whole person.
Whole person.
Let me ask you
And
before we get into your bill. When you did your 5 years,
mm-hmm. Yes.
did you get any type of treatment whatsoever? None.
First of all, we can't even talk about getting to mental health because there's no physical health that happens in incarceration.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to talk about mental health. I physically can't get well. I'm physically in a place getting ill. So if you don't care about my body, you definitely don't care about my mind. So prison is a place to warehouse and continue the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th Amendment, slavery. It is not, I challenge everybody to read the statements of prisons when they say rehabilitation, listen, there's no rehabilitation in putting somebody on a plantation to make optical eyewear glasses, to make lens crafted glasses, Whole Foods fruit, AutoZone's parts, Starbucks coffee beans, Victoria's Secret wings.
You're slaving again.
There is no rehabilitation on a slave plantation. Have you ever seen Thomas Jefferson try to heal a slave? No. And this modern day plantation is not going to heal us. And so we need to be clear that prison is not post-traumatic stress disorder. It is not like going to the war. Post-traumatic prison disorder is a total other dysfunction because it has generational trauma attached to it. See, going to war is a choice. People think prison is sometimes it's not.
Right.
Sometimes people think prison is your birthright.
Right.
And it's not the same type of trauma because before you ever get to prison, you're traumatized about 4 times before you ever get there.
Exactly.
Because nobody wakes up in the morning saying, I'm going to kill Johnny. They don't. Nobody wakes up in the morning saying, I'm going to go rob and kill and steal. No. But you know what happens? Element and environment.
There you go.
And we don't want to acknowledge element and environment.
Right.
And nobody wants to take ownership.
That's right.
And so we are left with an incarceration system that out-sentences us 6 times any counterpart of any other colored person in the United States of America.
Totality Tribe, I hope you are listening. I hope you are getting some information. This is why I wanted Shawanna to kick off Minority Mental Health Awareness Month with us.
So I do not, as we're painting Black Lives Matters all over the United States on the street, do we really understand what that means? Because, see, I don't need a symbol on the street that says my life matters. I need the judicial system to stop incarcerating me at 6 times my counterpart to know that my life matters. I need young people to not be shackled and chained to know that my life matters. I don't want another pregnant woman to go to prison when there's alternatives to sentencing that we are not afforded the opportunity to get. Show me my life matters in the judicial system. Show me my life matters when we stop and frisk for real in my community. Show me that my life matters when we defund the police and we put it back into community. Show me my life matters when we give totality of a woman money to save black women. Show me that my life matters when you give silent cry the money to answer silent cries. Show me that people's lives matter by where you put the dollar, because I don't care where you put paint on the ground. Show me where you put the currency behind the Black Lives Matter. I don't want to hear another speech about how my life matters. Every company in America says my life matters. Well, if my life matters, then join my policy and legislation and say that post-traumatic prison disorder has to be lobbied for. Spend some of the dollars lobbying for a law that passes that gives mental health in its totality to people incarcerated, formerly incarcerated, and to children of incarcerated parents. Why don't we make the bill matter?
Woo!
And that Black Lives Matter, that we are going to mandate that guards get therapy, because in the United States, they are not mandated to get mental health because they have mental health issues. I don't care what the psych evaluation that they took, lied, and they passed it. You got to be a messed up human being to come to a cage every day. You can't be mentally well either. It's right. And so my bill is called post-traumatic prison disorder. Shawanna W76337.
Was
Brian
that your
Benjamin has
number?
it in New York State.
Was that your
My
number?
prison,
I always
my
wanted to
prison
ask
number.
you that.
W76337. And let me tell you why I named it that. Because see, in prison I wasn't Shawanna. I was only W76337. When you go somewhere and you don't even have an identity, when you become a number instead of a human. When I traded in Shawanna Vaughn for W76337, I said, well, you know what? The state said they want to brand me with that number. Nobody wants to pardon me, so I got to die a felon. Well, you know what? I'll take it. I'm going to wear it like a badge of honor, because I am going to pass policy and legislation, and you are going to know my name before I leave here, and we are going to get people well. We are going to reduce recidivism. And we are going to make the legislature put their money where their mouth is. And I don't want to know about the total of the bill that it costs to get people mentally well, because we spend a whole bunch. If we got $6 billion to spend on
That's
the
right.
NYPD,
That's right.
then
That's
certainly
right.
New York State has enough money to pass my bill.
That's right. That's
So
right.
I don't want to hear in September when we get to Albany, I don't want to hear we don't have the money for mental wellness. I don't want to hear the pushback, because the NYPD is killing us, and we give them more money than any other agency in the state of New York. So why can't we pay to fix humans? We got more stock in the SPCA and the Humane Society than we do in black communities. Show me Black Lives Matters. Because if we were mentally well, our communities could heal themselves. But
Absolutely.
how can broken
Absolutely.
people be whole?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Shawanna, you know that's how we connected. We stayed on the phone for, it was supposed to be a 5-minute introduction and turned into over an hour because of the connection. You said we could heal ourselves. The right resources, and that's why we push so much to even just push the holistic way of wellness, to try to get families to understand the importance of starting to introduce this to your families, because we have to we got to strap up our boots. It's a lot of work to do, and we need to be well in order to do it, in order to get behind you. You already know, sis, that you're going to help me with the bill that we want to pass for the mental health in the
Yes,
schools. Like, it's serious work that has to be done, and we have to be
it is.
well in order to do it. And so these conversations, I say that they're not always like so much when I start talking about what we have to be preparing ourselves for in our homes and our communities. There's work that we have to do, and we have to be accountable. And you know, people don't always like to hear that because they think that by saying that we're trying to distract or take away from what's going on out there. No, we're very well aware of what's going on out there. That's even the bigger reason why we're saying that we got to get in-house and get us together, because of all that's going on out there and all that it is going to require of us to see the type of change. I said, when we talk about trauma, I always open, I tell people, you can't even begin to have an inkling of understanding of our community without understanding of trauma. You can't. It's not
Let me
it's
tell
not even
you,
possible.
the conversations that I'm having right now, because I'm trying to get people to understand Breonna Taylor matters. George Floyd matters. But you know what? Pookie killing Ray Ray matters to me. People in public housing shooting each other matters.
Exactly.
Because that's a mental defect of self-hate. When you don't like the person in the mirror. And why are we not screaming that from the mountaintop?
And I say it all the time about that self-reflection, and I call it that dirty work. They don't want to, because the self-hate is so deep, they don't even want to take a look at themselves. But that's where it is going to start. If anything that we're talking about want to see happen, that's a part of it. You can't skip over that part and get to where we're trying to get. You
Totality.
can't. Totality. Exactly.
Totality.
Exactly.
Because, see, I got to deal with George Floyd because we got to deal with slavery. We got to deal with racism. See, the Klan just traded in their uniform.
That's it.
They traded in white sheets for blue uniforms.
That's all.
They traded in their white sheets for black robes. Listen.
Talk about it.
What happened was we didn't trade in that cotton field slave mentality. We didn't give that back. See, they can change their clothes, but see that Willie Lynch syndrome is a real thing. See, we didn't see they just changed their clothes. Their mind is still the same.
And there you go. Their mind is still the same, but unfortunately, so is ours.
So is ours. Because see, you know what? What happened was we got too much too fast and we came on up like the Jeffersons and we thought we made it and we didn't go nowhere. We didn't go nowhere. We got too much too fast. And unfortunately, we wanted to live with the people that didn't look like us because we thought that meant we arrived. So we marry the people that don't look like us. We perpetuate our own self-hate because we think we have communities. Because communities sustain themselves. See, in every part of this world, we had a community. Rosewood, Oklahoma, we had communities and we sustained ourselves, separate but equal. Nobody want to hear me. Nobody want to hear that, but I feel you. It's okay. Because we kumbaya and we shall overcome. But you know what? I'm no longer singing, we shall overcome. People been dying. They're going to keep dying. And until we learn to ask for something that is tangible, I don't want to march and pray for you. I don't. I'm not. Marching and praying is not working. They use religion as a weapon because we are the most forgiving people on the planet Earth.
I had this
And we're
conversation,
mentally slaved, conditioned to turn the other cheek. Well, I'm not. I got two cheeks and I ain't turning neither one of them.
I'm with you.
Let me tell you what.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Let me tell you. I went to a conference and I heard something and I want to share it with you because it is the reason that I wrote the policy and legislation. I heard a Caucasian man wrapped in a Confederate flag say how he gave the Willie Lynch letter of the 21st century. He said how to keep a nigga under rule from birth to death. You write policy and legislation. He said if Jay-Z and Beyonce think they got money for 5 generations, he said we can take it with policy and legislation because they only rap and sing. They don't write nothing. So they don't have nothing. And I thought about what he said, and I wasn't even mad because he gave me something. You can't be mad at a racist who tells you the truth. See, you think you got wealth for 5 generations, but if I write a policy and enact that 15th Amendment, you don't got nothing.
That conversation with us
We're
blew me away.
listening.
So I came home and it blew me away. It blew me. Remember, it blew me. I'm educated, and and I'm knowledgeable, and I'm intelligent, and it blew me away. We have to
Mm-hmm.
we have to educate ourselves.
Did you hear what the 45th president of the free world said?
What?
If we do not know our history, we're going back to it. Did you hear what he said? We're going back to slavery. Do y'all understand where this man is trying to take us? We don't longer have the luxury to say we're not voting. We don't have the luxury. We got to pick the lesser of the two evils because none of us mean them no damn good. Democrat nor Republican mean black folks no good. They come to black churches to make promises and tell lies. And we're clear. From the first one to the 45th one, I didn't leave out nobody. From the 41st,
I know how
from
you
the
feel,
first
and I know how
to
you
the
feel.
45th. No president in the United States history has helped us. Okay? So let's just be clear about that. Nobody, black, white, orange, green, or otherwise, has had black lives as an agenda to be better. And so while we sit and say that Bill Clinton is the first black president, while he played a saxophone, called our children predators, and created the 1994 crime bill that has us with the staggering numbers that we sit with right now.
Yeah, she said what she said. That's right. She said what she said. This is a powerful woman sitting on the couch with us, and I could not wait to introduce you guys to her.
Listen, I'm going to tell you what, I want everybody to go out and vote. Absolutely, the Democrats were slave owners. I want everybody to go out and vote. We know Joe Biden ain't shit. He ain't did nothing in 30 whole years that he been sitting there, and he ain't gonna do nothing in the 8 years that we give him to sit there. So we already know what he gonna do. Nothing. So that means he ain't gonna make it no worse because he ain't gonna do nothing. He gonna sit there like he been on a pedestal looking like a snail doing nothing for 30 years. Let's give him 8 because he ain't gonna do nothing to hurt us and he ain't gonna make it better. But you know what? We right now looking at a man who trying to send us back to the plantation. So you know what? We got to take the two of the lesser evils. And if you stood out to vote for Obama, who did not help you in any legislative form, then I need you to go stand outside. And if you vote yourself in, write yourself in, but go vote. Make your life count. Make your black. Listen, Fannie Lou Hamer said, "I'm sick and tired of being tired." They listen.
Wait, why
They
you
didn't go to the
since
bridge.
since you quoting what somebody said, I want to quote something that you said. Enslaved by chains that the eye cannot see, not metal and binding, but the countless minds that are not free. Mass incarceration has left us with mental difficulties.
Absolutely. Mass incarceration has left us with mental difficulties. You can't see the chains. Hello, Senator Parker. You
Hello,
cannot
Senator
see the
Parker.
chains. You can't see the chains, but I got the scars to prove that I went to prison, to Valley State Prison for women, and that I served the sentence. And like I told you before, Stephanie, you know what? It's hard to have functional relationships. And I don't just mean with men, I mean with humans.
That's right.
Because prison did something to me. And so right now, the 4th of July, I have to leave tomorrow because the fireworks, the mental anguish, I can't do it. And this is why, and Senator Parker, thank you for being on, because I really want you to endorse post-traumatic prison disorder W76337. Brian Benjamin is carrying it. Will you please sign on? Because
I would
we
like to
cannot
connect,
do this
Shawanna.
alone.
Shawanna, and I'd like to connect you and Senator Parker. I had the pleasure of meeting him in person yesterday and honoring my former client and friend Fred the Godson, the launch of his foundation. And he came
Yes.
in support of that. And he is, listen, he is a big advocate behind mental health. Senator Parker has a bill that he is also pushing right now that we want to get behind and support him in regards to having a fourth option for crisis
Yes.
intervention. And so 911, instead of the police showing up for mental health crisis and issues of substance abuse, instead of that,
Oh,
a fourth
yes.
option. And so we want to support him. I actually want Senator Parker, I want to have you on the show also so we can talk about the bill. But yes, Senator Parker said count him in. So offline,
Yes.
I'm gonna make that connection.
Yes.
We're gonna get y'all two bills passed, so then we can get the bill for the schools trauma informed bill passed. This is what this is
Yes.
about. Please tell them, repeat again, what can, for everybody that's listening, because there's a lot of people that are like, we stand behind this. Let's get this bill signed. Let's push and support. What can people do, Shawanna? How can they support the post-traumatic prison disorder? How can they support it? What can we do?
I'm getting ready to go live with a petition. It will be live by Monday.
Okay.
You can call Senator Brian Benjamin's office and tell them you support this bill. July the 21st, I'll be in front of the state building celebrating mental health
I'll be there.
awareness month.
I want to be
Thank
there.
you.
I'll be right there.
The state building because, and I'm going to push for post traumatic prison disorder because I'm going to tell you what, nobody is going to heal us but us.
I keep saying that. If not
And and
us, then
and
who? That's my. If
yes,
not us, then who? I say that to our tribe and to our people all the time. It's on
let
us.
me tell you, I've been to some therapists and I've tried to get myself whole. And I had to figure it out because I went to therapists and they didn't look like me and they didn't have any trauma like me. And so they couldn't tell my narrative, so they couldn't give me a solution for my pain because they're textbooks. And I ain't had no textbook trauma. I had some
There we
real
go. There we go.
life trauma. And so when we talk about trauma informed care, I'm talking about people like Dr. Carol Ann Hunt Griffith. I'm talking about people like you, Stephanie Carnegie. See, the problem is I'm asking for vendor therapy in my bill because vendor means I'm going to find people that look like the people that are on the plantation of incarceration. If we've incarcerated 600,000 people and 500,000 of them look like me, I don't need a white woman or a white man going in there to tell you about your diagnosis because they don't know what it is.
And that is the reason why there's such a stigma in our communities right now. And every man that I've had on, every person, woman that I've had on that talks about that through their journey of finally getting to therapy, they all said the same thing. I sat down and they didn't look like me. They prosed me. They didn't look like me. They didn't understand. And this is why, again, we talk about later on after your bill is passed and all those things of what we're trying to do with the bill for the schools with making it mandatory for trauma-informed care because it's the same thing. You have teachers that are coming straight out of college and they're coming right inside of these communities that they've never been in, they've never lived in, they've never worked in, they don't understand the trauma of our children, and then they come inside of the classroom. The classroom is not culturally relevant. There is no empathy and compassion for what these children are going through and dealing with, and then they expect to sit down and just force feed them academics. As a former educator who considers herself a lifelong educator, whether she's inside of a classroom or not, I need people to understand unless you attain to the social, emotional wellness of our children and adults, you cannot teach them anything. You cannot expect anything
Anything.
to happen until you get to making sure that they are socially and emotionally and mentally well. It starts there before we can build anything else.
Let me tell you
Anything
what.
else.
Let me tell you why I stand behind what you want to do. Because Stephanie, if somebody would have took the time to see that I was a fractured fraction of a child, if somebody would have said the child is in trauma, if the foster care system would have gave a damn, somebody would have saw my trauma, but first you would actually have to see me. to know I was in trauma.
Have to.
See, and this is when I say the systems fail. When you come to prison to release me from the foster care system, you failed. When you say you didn't know where I was, I've been housed here for 3 years, you failed.
Shawanna, when you show okay, for those who don't know, when Shawanna was in foster care, then ended up in prison, she had a case manager who did not know, claimed she did not know where she was for 3 years. This is the foster care system. Shawanna was in prison. They made up, I get, because again, this is another one that had my hair standing up. When you tell me that this lady, when they finally realized where you were and came to see you, that they falsified reports as if they had been seeing you all this time,
Seeing me.
down to the jacket and the clothes that you had on, and you had been in prison for 3 years. A
3
teenager.
years. That's it. And now I'm aging out and you don't know where I am. I've been sitting here, but you failed. And this is the problem, isn't it? And if you wonder why I have post-traumatic prison disorder, I had disorders before I got to prison, and now you just called post-traumatic prison disorders because that was a whole nother ball game. And they dropped the ball, like I said, from pipeline to prison. Everybody gets an F. Everybody gets an F.
That's right.
And I'm telling you right now on this couch, on this platform, no more.
No more.
No more. We are going to write policy and legislation as communities. And we are going to take them to the legislature. Listen, first of all, I realized in this work, listen, I wrote policy and legislation in the projects at my kitchen table. So let me tell you.
I need people to hear that again, because let me tell you something. And again, and I know that it's because of the trauma, but this is why Totality Tribe, I need you to understand and see who you are sitting in front of. This is a woman who was born in prison with her mother shackled to a bed. This is a woman who was born with cocaine in her system, who was in foster care and went and did 5 years in prison when she was a teenager. This is a woman who just said she sat at a kitchen table in her apartment in the projects and wrote the legislation for post-traumatic prison disorder bill that we are all sitting here talking about getting behind to help push. I need you to understand where you are does not determine where you're going, but your mindset does. Your mindset does.
Listen, I live in a housing development. I don't know. I'm not a New Yorker. I don't live in I might live in a project, but I'm not a project. And I tell my children, it's not your location, it's your integrity. This is not my destination. I said, so let me tell you what. I sit in the projects and I wrote policy and legislation because my mind might be in a place I don't want to be. My body was in a prison captive, but my mind is free. And it took a long time to get here. And I'm working on it daily because I'm telling you, there's some days I am not mentally well. I tick and I talk. And if you had to come home with me and sleep with me, you know I'm a little crazy. But I'm going to tell you what, I'm weller than I was when I started this journey, because I'm trying to be whole and I don't want to die with generations after me not well. My children will never see an institution because I went to the cross for them. My children will not see an institution because my mama, your grandma went to the cross for you. My children will not see an institution because my brother is sitting there right now doing his 10 years. My children will not go to prison because my sister is a drug addict right now and I can't even find her. We went to the cross with our generational curse, and I say it stops with me. It stops here. I cut off the root of all evil in my generational curse. It stops with me. I'm going to write policy and legislation in the projects to get other people free, because this ain't about me. This is not about currency. Listen, I could die tomorrow. I need everybody to carry my bill for me because it's not about me. It's about people being mentally free. Our communities are suffering. We are in bondage in our own minds. We walk outside every day and we more shackled than people locked up. Listen, I'm about a whole totality of a human, and I need y'all to know I want you to stand with me. My health is not that great. My friend can tell you I coded on a table 4 Tuesdays ago. I'm in my second time of cancer. It ain't about me. It's not about my location. It's about humans, all humans. It's about getting our children not on plantations. It is about getting people mentally free, because if they're free, if their mind is free, their body is free indeed. Let me tell you what. I challenge you, Senator Parker. I want you to open up a space so we can teach the community how to write policy and legislation. Listen.
Woo, God.
Because we got to teach young people civics.
That's right.
I don't give a damn about TikTok.
We talked about that.
I don't care about TikTok. They got these kids' minds all wrapped up. They got them sitting at home doing distance learning. Well, while we can teach them what we want, I want to teach them about Harriet Tubman and C.J. Madam Walker. And I want to teach them that we came from good stock. And I want to teach them civic engagement, because we imprisoning babies. We go to the school and they don't know how to deal with them, so they call the police. I need young people to understand that the prison system, they got to listen. They shackling babies, so why shouldn't the babies know the Constitution?
Amen. Did you? Oh. Amen.
Listen, the preamble.
Amen. Amen. And this is what I
We cannot get free until we know the things that they use against us. They say that we cannot amend the Constitution. We cannot amend the 14th and the 15th and the 16th Amendment. Okay, I feel you. I'm not mad. All right. But you know what we can do? We can use the laws that are on the books against the people that use them against us. But we can't use them until we know them. If we don't know nothing, we can't teach nothing. And it is time that we tell every Black and Spanish person in America, listen, we ain't got time for self-hate. I don't got time to hate on my sister. I don't have time to talk about the discord and the dislikes. We got to band together whether we want to or not. It's time to write policy and legislation and take them to the legislators. And when they don't pass them, tell them I'm going to vote your ass out, because the community stands with me and you got to go. When they don't do what we want, listen, we got power. We got power, and we are going to take ownership of the power, because my ancestors fought for me and they died for me. And you know what? I went to prison so I could get the chains off my feet, so I could come help you, so you could help me get free. It is time that we learn that it is us against the whole world. It is us. Everybody is my brother and everybody is my sister. And it is time to do some work. Don't call me to paint no Black Lives Damn Matter letters in the street. Call me because you want your children to learn civic engagement, and we got to get people educated. Call me when it's time to go get out to vote. Call me when it's time to do something that's going to save somebody. Guess what? We can't take, we know everybody ain't going to come. But for those who want to, we got to take them with us on this journey. You know what? Harriet Tubman said I would have freed more slaves, but they didn't know they were slaves. So everybody, I'm clear, is not coming with me on this journey. But for those who will. Oh yeah, the power of the pen. The power of the
Drop
pen.
some green hearts. I want to know, are we supporting my sister Shawanna Vaughn? Drop those green hearts. I see everybody saying action policy, saying powerful, saying yes, but I need you to make sure that you are following Silent Cry Inc. I will pin it. I need you to make sure that you are following. I need you to make sure to call who you need to call to write the letters that you need to write. I'm going to find out. She already said the date that she's going to be by the state building. I'm going to post that on my page so that if you guys want to come out and be able to support, Totality of a Woman is standing with and next to this sister. We are going to do some powerful work together. We have to support one another. We have to come out as a community. Drop those hearts. Make sure you are following her. We need to get this bill passed. The Shawanna, the post-traumatic prison disorder, Shawanna W76337. Tell them again, we have a couple more minutes. Tell them again, I see those green hearts dropping. Tell them again what they can do right now. If Is there a letter? Who can they call? Because you're starting this in New York. Is it Michigan too? Or
It's Michigan too. Jewel Jones in Michigan and Brian Benjamin in New York. I will
Brian
give her the
Benjamin?
information.
Yes.
Yes. He's in the state office building at 125th Street on the ninth floor. Um, please, I am asking everybody to join this movement.
Totality Tribe. I have made my statement and my pledge that I'm standing next to and with my sister for this movement to make this bill come to fruition. I am asking you to join the tribe and join us in supporting her. You have heard everything that she has had to say. She is powerful, she is impactful, and we need this type of change. We need this type of movement in our communities, and we need to stand with her. You need to start educating our children in our homes. Listen, adults, we don't know, some of us don't know all of this history, and guess what? It's okay. This is a space of transparency and support. I don't know everything either. Shawanna has put me onto some stuff. She could tell you to have my hair standing up at my desk at work. I could not believe it, but guess what? I'm happy that I know now, and that made me want to go and learn more and want to learn more and pass that information on. And this is what, did you hear what she said? It is us against the world. This is not an opinion. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a Snapple, Apple, all caps fact. It is us against the world. So that means that we have to come together. We have to come together. We have to
Let me
get
tell
back to
you,
community.
the
Shawanna.
march, nobody took us seriously until the counterparts came and laid their bodies in front of us. Let me tell you, Black Lives Matter before white people agreed with us. So I'm going to tell you, I love my counterparts, but guess what? I will come lay over your body, my sister, before I let another human hurt you. And we have all got to have that mentality. We got to come cover and lay over our own. Because we matter. We are relevant even when they stop. See, because we're relevant even when they stop. They only have an attention span for 5 minutes. When this is no longer popular and Tapestry and Kate Spade is no longer saying this is relevant, we will still be relevant to each other. And I will still have to love you in your totality. So we all we got at the end of the day.
And we are going to stop right there because I have to save this, because I know you guys are going to want to go back and listen to this. And if you know someone who did not join us on this live tonight, it is going to be up on our IGTV. Please make sure that you suggest someone checks out this episode of A Seat on the Couch. Please make sure that you are following Silent Cry Inc. We're going to post information about where she's going to be on July 21st at the State Building. If anybody wants to come out and come and support us, Totality Tribe will be there in support of her. And
Yes.
post the information again on what you need to do to support so that we can make sure this happens. Shawanna, you know I love you. You are my sister.
I love you.
I'm back in Harlem next week, so I am coming to see you. We have a lot of work to do. Thank you so much. Totality Tribe, as I always say, please continue to pray for me. I'll continue to pray for you. Let's put our praying hands over this sister, like we see on social media when they say protect her at all costs. That's what I'm saying about my sister right here. Protect her at all costs. Until next time, I'll see you next week on the couch. Put love and peace into the universe. Nurture your mental health. Nurture your mental health. Have a good night, everybody.
Blessings, Queen. Love you.
I love you.